try to understand the nature of America, to set up the '84 campaign. This is something nobody in the left understands. People are not stupid. Okay? People have a visceral belief that America matters. They have a visceral belief, 90% of the country believes we're endowed by our Creator. So the minute you go into a secular model and you start explaining to them you can't say the word Creator, and you certainly couldn't teach the Declaration of Independence in the Los Angeles schools now, because you'd have to explain Creator, and that would lead to an ACLU lawsuit. So we have to invent a new America.
Might even have to explain unalienable rights.
That's right. Yeah. You start the idea. You're endowed.
You said something about college professors, and I want to mention that I'm one. Okay, so I teach in colleges, and I've for 40 years done so. And I was always stunned. How come there are more Marxists in America than there are in my native country, Hungary?
Right.
So unless something happens to the educational system from bottom up, which it's the most socialistic system in America.
But what a great moment to say to the students, what if we ended tenure?
Oh, you do that, but there is enormous propaganda conveyed to these students in every class. The idea of a balanced educational system, it's impossible.
Yeah, Tibor, we're in the home stretch, and we have a little video interview we want to do. So.
Okay. But let me just say,
yeah.
my core argument, analytically, is take everything you just said and take everything everybody else here could say, list it on a wall and understand. You either solve these things or you don't. Okay? So if you're determined to solve them, you say, fine, post everything that's a problem. Let's put it all out in the open. Now let's go solve it. The classic example is 1979, 1980. We have gasoline rationing that doesn't work every other day based on the last number of your auto license. We have massive inflation. The economy is decaying. The Soviet Union is on offense, and we're so weak and confused. We have a 444-day Iranian hostage crisis of the country, which could not have stopped us for 25 minutes had we decided to go into Tehran seriously. Okay? And we had a president who just was totally out of touch with reality. If you go back and you read what people wrote in 79, 80, malaise was a normative thing. And if you read how do you relate to the Soviet Union, they're huge. Samuelson said in his textbook that it might well be a superior method of production. The CIA, as late as 1986, overestimated the East German economy by a factor of 10. Okay? Reagan comes along, and a reporter says, so what's your vision of the Cold War? He says 4 words that change history. We win, they lose. Here's the difference. If you read Schweitzer's book, Victory, or his other book, Reagan's War. Reagan then methodically and relentlessly for 8 years. Huh?
Or Martin Anderson.
Or Martin Anderson. But they methodically and relentlessly set out to defeat the Soviet Empire. Now, we are now faced with the Margaret Thatcher problem, not the Ronald Reagan problem. All of the greatest dangers to America's future are inside the United States. And so we simply have to calmly and methodically think through, fine. I believe the American people should win and the secular socialist machine should lose. And I believe you can pin the next 10 years on that simple phrase, and people will, in the end, by huge margins, decide, that's right.
Let's. We only have a little bit of time left, so we should talk a little bit about politics. So, if you want to give us...
I don't do that.
Probably a good idea. What about your thoughts on the midterm elections, specifically? Maybe start with California. You mentioned Barbara Boxer briefly. Then how you see things playing out in 2012. And then you mentioned a few minutes ago, this is a 3-part question, you mentioned a few minutes ago the party of not them, but you supported the Republican candidate in the New York 23rd race. That wasn't the party of not them. There was a candidate, a conservative candidate, who was the not them candidate, and it hurt the Republicans. So if you'd address those 3, that'd be awesome.
Pretty sweeping set of things. Well, first of all, 2010, I think, depends on 3 things. One, what happens to the economy. Charlie Cook made a really powerful point 2 weeks ago in National Journal when he said that the only months since World War II in an election year in which the unemployment rate was above 8% were all 12 months in 1982. We lost 26 seats from a total of 192. I don't think anybody in this country believes we'll get down to 8% unemployment this year. So the Democrats have a question: how angry will the country be by September and October? How concerned will they be, and how much will they have rendered judgment that all of this spending and all of this government has actually hurt the economy, not helped it? And Barbara Boxer has to come home in a state which may have by then, second only to Michigan, the worst economy in the country. And she has to explain why paying off the unions, building a bigger bureaucracy, raising your taxes, and creating a series of programs which will drive industry to China is really clever. And if she gets an opponent who slows the race down, this is why I think 2 + 2 = 4 is important. I say to every candidate, slow the race down. Get it down to big choices on big themes, because they will kill you if you try to dance with them. Nobody's going to be able to outmaneuver Barbara Boxer, but you may be able to create a series of questions she can't answer, which is Lincoln and Cooper Union. Very, very clear-cut model. So the first thing is the economy. The second thing is the Democrats. Are they going to learn anything? The fact that Pelosi announced she's now going to try to punish the insurance companies, which is the most grotesque kind of Chicago machine politics, is just stupid. I mean, what American says, given this economy and given my worry about health costs and given this, what I really want to see is the House of Representatives pass a purely punitive elimination of the antitrust law, which I don't understand and which the insurance companies are all going to say is going to raise the cost of insurance. But
Scapegoating works though sometimes.
it works sometimes. It doesn't work when there's real pain. And it doesn't work when people say, you know what you're doing, you're scapegoating. If you watch very tellingly Scott Brown's campaign, about the 4th time Coakley says Bush Cheney, he stopped her. And he said, this campaign is about the future, not about the past. And it overwhelmed